Good afternoon. I'm really excited about today. So again, my name is Ben Butler, and I'm the global head of the Cloud Innovation Center program. Teresa made me wave to everyone in the morning, but thank you for being here. We're really excited about talking about both the Cloud Innovation Center program as well as our collaboration with the Munich University of Applied Sciences through the Digital Transformation Lab and Code University of Applied Sciences in Berlin with the Better Future Labs. And we'll have Lars, our digital innovation lead, come up in a few minutes to talk about various innovation processes that we have at Amazon. So what I'd like to do is explain a little bit about how we got to this program. It's a relatively new program, and also explain our role and Amazon's role in how we run a Cloud Innovation Center. So I'll start off, and this quote was at the keynote. I was surprised when I saw it. It's one of my favorite quotes from Jeff Bezos. But essentially, invention comes in many forms and at many scales. But the most transformative and the most radical ones are the ones that unleash the power and the creativity of others to unleash their dreams and let them pursue their dreams. And that has happened a lot within Amazon's history. So Amazon has had a lot of success from selling physical books online to moving to selling products such as Echo and Kindle, as well as services such as Amazon Web Services and self-publishing and Amazon Prime. So a lot of customers ask us, how do we innovate, or how do we have this culture of innovation? How does it make sense for a company to go from doing books to selling almost everything? And it's one of our most popular sessions at our executive briefing centers as to our culture of innovation. And we realized there's an opportunity to not only share how we do our culture and how we do it at Amazon, but how can we apply some of those best practices and lessons learned with the public sector to solve problems for their customers, their citizens, students, teachers, police officers, the state, local government, education institutions. And so we created the Cloud Innovation Center program in the last couple of years to have this deeper dive collaboration between AWS and with our public sector partners to think through what does it mean to innovate with cloud computing, but using our innovation technology methodologies and processes. So the mission of the Cloud Innovation Center, there's a couple of key tenets to the program. And what we really want to do is work with the subject matter expertise of public sector institutions with their faculty and innovative students, plus using Amazon's innovation techniques and methodologies to solve these types of problems together for public sector, as well as go along these mission statements. So we want to be able to help minimize technology costs, but also increase technology alternatives to solve problems, and provide a learn by doing component, which is essential tenet to the program, is that we don't want to provide a learn by observing or learn by watching someone else do it, but teach innovation, teach emerging technologies, teach cloud technologies in the context of solving real-world problems. And by doing so, it'll add more motivation, and actually the knowledge will stay with you as you solve a real problem. And then by doing so, we hope to increase the skills and the economic workforce development of those innovations throughout the world, because one of the key tenets within the program is that we're going to open source and share the ideas, the prototypes, the lessons learned of the innovation centers between and amongst the innovation centers, but open source for the public to share at large. So as we look at a problem to solve, we also think ahead and think, what is the applicability of that solution if we come up with it across the world? And so exactly what does the partnership look like? So on the left-hand side, we call a customer of the Cloud Innovation Center, such as MUAS and Code, as our CIC sponsor. So when I say CIC, C-I-C, Cloud Innovation Center, and the CIC sponsor provides the facility, they provide a dedicated program manager to drive success of what they want out of their innovation center. One of the key principles of the program is that the Cloud Innovation Center is run and owned by the public sector institution. We are facilitators, we are enablers, we will provide and share whatever we can, but it is the center that is owned by the customer. They provide the facilities, they will source the innovation challenges and the problems. They're not problems that Amazon wants to solve, per se. It is the problems that are matter to the local ecosystem within where those KICs are located. And then we'll share the best practices and what we learned in terms of various artifacts, which Lars will go through when we talk about our innovation process. And then we'll capture metrics on the program, such as how many challenges have we run, how many have we published, how are they being reused. And then on the Amazon side, we're providing our culture of innovation, lessons learned in terms of how we take an idea and sell it to our leadership to say this is something we should invest in. There's a specific process and mechanism within Amazon, and we'll apply those processes to a public sector problem. And then we'll provide cloud credits so that there is no cost risk of trying out a new idea. We'll subsidize the infrastructure use on AWS with credits. We'll provide solutions architecture advice and counsel. So these are best practices. This is how to do a landing zone. This is how to implement various solutions. And then, as you heard, there's all these other programs such as Restart, Educate, Academy. We can provide a gateway and introduction into a lot of those various programs at the Innovation Center. And then we run like a KIC Summit where we share the best practices across the various KICs. And so what exactly is an innovation challenge? So how do you actually go about doing it within an innovation center? So we have an engagement model of how we take a problem and an opportunity and we think through it. And we want it to be real world where there's an end customer, what we call a challenge sponsor. So you have a KIC sponsor that's the customer of the actual innovation center, but then you'll also have a customer such as a police department, an attorney general's office, a hospital, a school. Those would be challenge sponsors, and they're submitting different problem statements that are succinct, actionable, something that can be solved in the real world. And then we apply our innovation processes against that challenge. And what this does is provide a real world experience for the student that if they work on solving these challenges, they're not only getting the skills, but they're getting experience working with real life customers, not just an academic or hypothetical exercise. So I'm going to show you, this is Paul Jerson. He is our program director. So he's at Cal Poly University. That was our first university-based cloud innovation center. They call it theirs, the Digital Transformation Hub. So each KIC, because they're owned by our customers, they call their initiative whatever they like, and it's enabled or powered by AWS. So they call theirs the Digital Transformation Hub, and it's DX Hub for short, so you'll hear that throughout the video. It's a 2-minute video, but I wanted to show you from the voice of the customer what a KIC means to them, what learn by doing means to them for both the university and the students that participate. So hopefully the audio will work, and I'll start the video now.
Is a strategic relationship between Amazon Web Services and Cal Poly. Our goal is to be able to provide our students with learn-by-doing activities, and those can be applied to public sector problems through the latest in technologies and also through innovation processes brought to us through AWS.
Nothing has changed this world more than the cloud. So the ability of the DX Hub to develop a cloud learning evolutionary process is what really prepares the students better as they go to work in the world at large.
It's putting students in a position to solve real-world problems. I am working collaboratively with the DX Hub for the California Energy Commission on marine-focused technology that will hopefully be able to identify marine species on the ocean floor using artificial intelligence.
I see computing as at the service of a lot of different disciplines at Cal Poly, especially in the area of agriculture, which has been historically technology starved. The application that we ended up solidifying on for this summer was tracking of cattle for ranchers in the local area. Having a framework with the Amazon experts and, of course, all the technology that's available really allows for rapid prototyping in a matter of weeks or even months rather than years. And to have that situation be always online, available from anywhere, is a real benefit for the research.
We went into the hardest problem with an incredible national message that is burning hot right now. Our project challenge was to work with Salient Police Department and working in partnership with AWS Cal Poly to create an evidence-based policing platform.
Projects that we've worked on here at Cal Poly could translate well to a lot of other institutions around the globe.
It's really allowing them to give back as they're learning.
Being exposed to public sector issues and working to solve those issues with technology solutions, whether it be project management or team building or resource planning, has provided me with an opportunity to gain experience that I did not expect until much later in my career. That student now has in their toolkit for life, an innovative process that is used by a billion-dollar company innovating through the roof. That is a game changer for both the student, the company they work for, and society at large.
So you heard a couple of the innovation challenges that we're working on there at the DX Hub. You heard about the Monterey Bay research. Teresa talked a little bit about the California Strawberry Commission, about using computer vision to pick and detect strawberries. You heard about San Leandro Police Department. We'll show you a little visualization of that type of project. But these are the types of issues and problems, and as we work on these more and more, we'll start creating a network of cloud innovation centers worldwide that will share in some of common challenges. Some of the common challenges we're seeing is along law enforcement, around smart cities, and also around healthcare. And these are the types of things that, as we go through what we do at a cloud innovation center, why it's important that we openly share this and do open source for this. So those are examples of the innovation challenges. What I'd like to do now is I'm going to have Lars Schmitz come up on stage. He's our digital innovation lead for Germany and be working as the leader for both the innovation centers at MUAS and at Code. So thank you, Lars. Thank you.
Okay, glad I'm here. Honestly, I'm proud. So let's change gears and discuss a little bit how we actually work with our customers on their challenges. And I guess the most obvious, spontaneous idea is that we bring our technology, and of course we make our cloud platform available to our cloud innovation centers and the customers and their challenges. But it's not the first thing. At Amazon, we do have a very peculiar methodology to actually be innovative that we apply ourselves, and we make that methodology, which is called working backwards, available to our customers as well. So we strongly believe that we have to work backwards from the customer in order to be successful and have real impact. And whenever we come up with an idea and that we want to invest into that idea, we feel that we don't start with the code, but instead we start with a press release, which oftentimes is something that you would see at the end and not at the beginning. But the press release is less a marketing tool for us. Of course, we do have that as well, but it's really a vision document that describes the vision that we have, and a document that describes the idea behind that vision. It's a living document that undergoes a lot of iterations, and it helps align everybody who is involved in that process of actually doing innovation with the customer. So there are really 5 key questions that drive the press release and the whole working backwards approach. We start by asking who is the customer, and oftentimes it's not as obvious as it might be. The next question is then, what is that customer's problem, opportunity? And while we are running innovation workshops, we normally find out that there's not only one, but many. So we have to actually go deeper and deeper to identify the most pressing challenge. Is the benefit to the customer clear? How do we know what we are talking about? Do we have qualitative or quantitative evidence on what we are working on? As a company, we are very data-driven, so we want to make sure that we are not guessing, but really base our assumption and the whole vision on facts, basically. And last but not least, what would the customer experience look like at the end? Typically, we start the whole challenge process by inviting customers to join us. And I'm so excited because it's actually, as of today, that we can invite customers in Germany to join us and work, co-innovate with them on their challenges. There are many ways to actually apply. You simply can reach out to the Cloud Innovation Centers, you can talk to us, you can talk to your account manager, whatever you feel is appropriate. Just let us know what your idea or your challenge is, and then we take it from there. What we would do then is we would really make sure that you understand how we are planning to work with you. We are going to explain the innovation process. We explain to you what it means that you, for example, have to not only throw a problem over the wall, but you also have to work with us, co-innovate, assign people, spend time with us, have data if necessary. And we also try to frame the challenge with you, because honestly, we are not able to tackle world hunger in a few weeks. That's just not realistic. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we can have impact. So it's not about making me happy and fighting my hunger tonight. It's really something in between that really fits nicely into the scope of a challenge. Now, by then, the customer may decide that it's not the right in time for him to work with us, that he doesn't have people available, that he wants to go a different path, which is totally okay. And then we want to make sure that he gets transferred to other programs within Amazon. But if he decides to proceed with us, we start to define actually what he is trying to tackle. So we dive deep within a day. It's a one-day workshop. And there we actually try to first understand the customer, the need of the customer, try to do an ideation phase where we try to identify different alternatives on how to solve that challenge. And then slowly but surely, we try to bring everything down. We prioritize, we group ideas, and select the most promising candidate. Then I get back to the press release I mentioned earlier. At the end of the day, we really want to make sure that we get something out of that day. So we try to actually start writing the press release on that same day. Now, once this is done, we actually take it to the next step, and there it's all about prototyping. And prototyping means much more than just having a prototype, a digital artifact that eventually is a demo or a proof of concept or a pilot. It's also iterating over the press release why ideas evolve. It means that we start to compile a list of questions that the customer may have, and of course the answers to them. Then we do an analysis of alternatives, because eventually we might find out that there is already something available so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel from scratch. And we, of course, come up with a recommendation. All of that finally accumulates into a kind of a demo day, where after 10 or 12 weeks we report back to executives from the customer what we think is an answer to his challenge or opportunity. Just to be complete here, there's of course also a realized value phase. That is not really at the heart of what we do. Of course, we want to make sure that we have impact, as we said already. So just for completeness, that is something that we also can work with you on. In terms of timing, we call engage, define, and prototype. We call that a challenge sprint. Sometimes we might find out that this is just too short, so we want to have a number of sprints subsequently to dive deeper or to add more functionality. So what would you get as a customer out of that? I mentioned the press release. I mentioned the FAQ, and that is actually twofold. You will get end-user questions like, how do I get the software? Does it cost anything? Do I need support? Where do I get the support? How can I uninstall? Things like that. And then there's also another side of the matter, that is the stakeholder questions. How much does it cost me? Do I need to train people? And so forth. Then we have visuals to just express or visualize the user experience. I will show you an example for that in a second. And we have a prototype. And remember, it won't be a productive solution. It's more the idea of what you can do, and take that to a higher level after you have run the challenge with us. So it's a well-described idea, basically. That is an example, just to give you an impression of how a result can look like. This is a storyboard. I'm not going to dive deeper here, but it's really about predictive crime, trying to find a correlation between the outage or the loss of public transport and crime rate. They came up with the idea to actually do data analysis and see if there are correlations between the two, and predict what would happen if they came up with certain scenarios to fight crime. So I guess by now you might think, yeah, well, that's interesting and it's a lot of work. Is it actually worth it? And that's actually what one of our colleagues asked Jeff Bezos during one of our keynotes. And just listen to what he said to that.
Process optional. It sounds great, but it seems like a lot of work. Oh boy, how do we begin? The working backwards process should not be optional unless you know a better way. And you shouldn't know a better way until you've tried the working backwards process several times. The working backwards process really does work. And this particular thing here, it sounds great, but it seems like a lot of work. Done correctly, the working backwards process is a huge amount of work, but it saves you even more work later. The working backwards process is not designed to be easy. It's designed to save huge amounts of work on the back end and to make sure that we're actually building the right thing. What so many companies do is they write the software. That's a lot of work. They get it all working, and then they throw it over the wall to the marketing department and say, okay, here's what we built. Write the press release for it. That process is the one that's actually backwards.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense. So what about IP? Who owns results? Is that something that we work on? I get that a little bit when I talk to customers about the potential to work together, and they ask me, so are you after our data? Do you want to develop a business idea out of that? And the clear answer is no, because we are going to open source all the results. So whatever you have seen so far is just going to be open source. So the answer would be, it is not us owning the results, it's not the customer, it's basically nobody or everybody. For us, this is really important, and I want to stretch that point because I hope that this will help us build trust. And of course, it also helps us to further develop on the ideas that get developed. There's an investment of energy, and just because we are open source, that means for the customer, he just can take that, leave us alone, and ask his integrator to further develop the solution. And that's totally fine for us. He, of course, can also ask us to keep on supporting him and develop the solution ourselves, or we bring in a partner, or especially for universities with incubators or accelerators, they can try to engage with startups and pick up on that idea and just build a business model on that. So I think there's a lot of possibilities that get opened up just by opening it up and sharing it as open source. And as Ben mentioned earlier, over time we hope that we are going to create a network of cloud innovation centers globally. So what we also hope is going to happen is that cloud innovation centers will pick up and continue to develop ideas in a completely different region of the world. Yes, we are young. Yes, we are learning. It's still a young program. But as I said, I hope that over time we are going to see a lot of collaboration between the Cloud Innovation Centers. We had a very exciting first KIC Summit in California in February. We felt that it was super valuable to everybody, including us, because we are learning from our KIC hosts as well, and we actually try to co-design the program together with them. So with that, I'm done, and I'm going to hand over to one of my KICs. I have to say that. I'm super proud. So Sven, please join me and tell me more about Mewis and what you're trying to achieve there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. Thanks. Right. Hi, everybody. So I guess the first challenge actually was getting that KIC up and running for Munich University of Applied Sciences, as we are a public university, meaning that we're funded by taxpayers' money, nearly 90%, I'd say. I'm pressing the green one. Yes, here we go. And you can imagine that process of really building that up with all the challenges that we encountered really was quite breathtaking. So some info about us. We are sort of rather large, 18,000 students, nearly 500 professors. That makes us the largest University of Applied Sciences in Germany in terms of professors at least. And a wide array of programs. 60-70% of that is engineering, and that includes, of course, computer science and so on. But you would also find social work, nursing, design, and so on. We are roughly producing around 4,000, I think it's 3,800 graduates a year, and that also makes us a quite important supplier of expertise for the companies in all over Germany, but also, of course, in the Munich region. Now, why we think that this KIC, or Digital Transformation Lab, as we call it, is a good match with us is, well, that we're rather proud of being one of those universities really delivering employable students. So for those being at home in Europe and the Europe of Bologna and so on, employability is one of the most important criteria for really being successful in educating students. And looking at our university and the different things we're doing, we're ranked #1 there in terms of employability. Of course, you always find the ranking that's good for you. That's for sure. Quite proud as well are we about the fact that in terms of producing student startups, we're ranked #2. And that is not only the startup thing, that is fostering entrepreneurship education. So there are nearly 3,000 students a year that are going through classes, projects of our entrepreneurship center, which is the Straschek Center of Entrepreneurship. So there's the next bit of the puzzle. So a university very much focusing on learn by doing, just as Cal Poly, which is frankly one of our strategic partners in the global networks since, 1990s. The Straschek Center of Entrepreneurship, a rather old entrepreneurship center in terms of university incubation acceleration, already founded 2002, 2003 at our university. They run a couple of formats, a couple of degree programs even, where they focus very much on fostering entrepreneurial thinking. And it's not only about starting up, it's really also about entrepreneurship, it's about a mindset, like deep dive, as you see here. Well, it's not the Amazon leadership principle. They called that deep dive because, they didn't even know about the Amazon principle at that time. They called it deep dive. That's a master degree program that builds completely upon building a company. And you end up with a master degree and your own company. Well, that's the plan. But they also experiment lots of classes in terms of co-creation. They call it real projects. It's their brand name, but it's basically real projects, so well. And you see that they are quite close to the idea of the innovation process and the working backwards process that Amazon is also following. So we think there's a very good match in terms of what Amazon AWS does and what's also already quite deeply engraved in our own DNA. Now, a new development, rather new throughout the last 2 years, academia, science institutions see a huge discussion on the relevance on innovation, just doing something new, doing research, innovate, and throwing it over to the public. Well, let's see if they can do something with it. That's probably not the way how knowledge transfer, which might be a German word, I don't know if that's really working in English, with how knowledge transfer is really working. It's not about innovating and then finding someone to use it. It's about co-creating. It's about generating new knowledge together. And for that, we think that you also have to integrate more and different actors. It's not only academia. We need to have government entities. In our case, that network mainly we deal with the city of Munich, but it could be municipalities or the state of Bavaria. We need to have actors from society in there. You see some of them here. And of course, we work closely together with industry, which we anyway do because we're a University of Applied Science, meaning that our professors do have industry background and still have very close contacts. So that is M University, which is a co-creation network that we build up and that sort of could be a pipeline for challenges. Now, we also know that, we have workshops and meetings and colloquium and so on. People have to get there because they think there's something in it for them. And that is, we have to tackle certain topics. And now I'll hand over to Florian. Florian is our program manager for the Digital Transformation Lab in Munich. and he will tell you a bit more about the Digital Transformation Lab and how that fits into the picture and what we're actually already doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sven. So my name is Florian, and I'm here to tell you a bit more about the Digital Transformation Lab as part of M University. So within the M University network, we currently have 3 living labs on the topics of climate neutral city, health and participation, and civil security. And in these living labs, we have co-creation groups where members of these labs meet regularly to work on joint problems, including crowd control at large events. You have Oktoberfest here, one of the largest events in the world, 6 million people every year, but also things like real versus perceived threats. And essentially we're extending this by a 4th lab, the Digital Transformation Lab, which was just announced this morning at Teresa's keynote. So we're all very excited to get started with it. The city of Munich, you should know, is the capital of Bavaria, and it's one of the most prosperous regions in Germany. We have high-tech companies there, including Siemens and BMW, but the high-tech has not really disseminated to the public sector very well, where I think it's fair to say that we still have a lot of room for improvement, especially in regards to digitalization. And this leads us to our twofold mission that you see here. First of all, to solve urgent public sector challenges in the Munich metropolitan region, but also, almost more importantly for us, to educate our students in innovation and in state-of-the-art technologies like cloud computing. The Digital Transformation Lab is co-run by Munich University of Applied Sciences and our Straschek Center for Entrepreneurship, and is obviously powered by AWS. And what it does, so Sven told you about all the great things happening at our university already. So we have a huge bunch of students who are technically skilled and creative. We have this strong tradition of entrepreneurship, and we already have the existing co-creation network, M University. So now imagine the possibilities if you apply all of these to the area of digital transformation, which is what we are trying to do. So Sven also mentioned the REAL project at SCE, which essentially means students work on problems from the real world as part of their courses. So as we are a University of Applied Sciences, it's quite common for our students to do practical assignments as part of their courses, and this can be anything up to 100 people working on a challenge. So essentially we're using this format now to get students to work on problems that were submitted by one of our partners in the public sector, and to work on them using digital technologies like cloud computing. And obviously, since we're part of the M University network, we also share the ethos of co-creation, which means we try to get the partners involved as much as possible in the process to make sure that they're happy with the end result. Next slide, what are our next plans? So I already told you we were just launched this morning, so it's all very fresh and we're excited to get started, but we will have our official launch event in Munich on the 18th of July in order to introduce ourselves to our university and to the wider community. So save the date now, and we're all happy to have you in Munich for that. We're currently looking for partners in the public sector to run challenges, and first impression is that it's going extremely well. So we talked to a few and they're all very excited about the idea and happy to work with us. And we're also talking to professors at the university, where it's similar in that we have plenty of professors who were already using AWS, so we don't need to convince them of the benefits, and they're also keen to get started. We do have a pilot challenge running since last week already in order to test our processes, but also to get started on the work. So this one is about supporting citizen participation through social information systems. And the idea there is to use information systems to mediate in public debates which have the potential to become ugly. For example, what we're looking at is the building up of a 5G telecommunication network in Germany, where there's going to be lots of new antennas built over the next few years, and lots of people are against it. So we're trying to see, can we improve the discussions around this to reach a consensus? So watch this space. We're also holding a summer school training event in the summer in order to educate our students on AWS technologies. Regular operations I put here will start in the winter term, which is October in our case, and we hope by then we'll have a number of exciting challenges lined up, which we can tell you about next year. Importantly, you can read up more about it on our website, which went live today. So I hope I could show you how the Digital Transformation Lab is a great way to leverage the skills of a University of Applied Science and then to apply those to the public sector and to digitalization projects. With that, I hand you over to our friends from Code. Viel Erfolg.
Now it's working. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks so much that we can be here and that we can be a part of CIC. We feel like this program was really made for us because we're also University of Applied Sciences, but strictly focused on challenge-based and project-based learning. Let me give you a short introduction about us. We're probably, I'm not 100% sure, but probably still the youngest newly founded university in Germany because we just started 1.5 years ago in October of 2017. We're based in Berlin, and we are entirely focused on digital product development with our study programs in interaction design, software engineering, and product management, the typical 3 roles you see when you want to develop digital products. We're based in Berlin, and obviously, and when you're based in Berlin, you want to be an international university, so everything we do is entirely in English, and our students are from all over the world, meaning our currently 230 students are from more than 43 different countries, and like intercultural stuff and intercultural opportunities is a really big part of what we do and what we also want to bring into this partnership. And what we are all about is curiosity-driven education. That's also what CODE stands for as an abbreviation, by the way. Because we really start with the challenge, the curiosity, and the interest of the students by helping them to find interesting challenges and projects they want to work on, and then to teach A, themselves, and B, obviously each other, and like be taught by our professors, not in a traditional way that we understand our professors as teachers, but more as mentors. So our professors act as mentors, helping the students through their own learning journeys while learning and working on these projects. And we think that makes us very special because there's basically no lectures at our university, no traditional exams, and also no traditional grades, but instead of that, we work with a very detailed skill framework, competency framework, that on a really granular level tries to assess what students are capable of and gives students the individual freedom to choose the projects and the topics they really want to focus on. So it's all driven by curiosity, all driven by your personal motivation. But at the same time, we're not just focusing on the technical skills and abilities, we also want to focus on society and reflecting what technology means for society and how society also obviously affects technology and should affect technology, and to make our students think out of the box. And this is where our Science, Technology and Society program comes in. That is a mandatory track that all students also go through, where we really make them think a lot about their impact on the world and the potential impact they can have as people who develop digital products. And with that, I hand over to Emilia, who's going to tell you what role partners play in that.
So for the learning journeys of our students, what's very important is to have landscapes, organizational landscapes, challenges and opportunities from the real world for the students to really apply their thinking, their learning, and to act out those projects and the workshops that we were talking about. With our partners, we build an innovation ecosystem. And in that innovation ecosystem, learning and innovation are deeply linked with each other. We organize workshops and trainings, and again, these range not only from the technical side, they go all the way to intercultural teams. So together with our partners who lead quite international development teams, we talk about what it means to be in an intercultural team, to work with people who come from 5 different countries and speak different languages, and how to become an inclusive team, and how to really drive forward solutions and ideas that everyone can be a part of. We organize hackathons, probably more traditional formats, but our hackathons are not so much about competing, they're more about the community aspect of it. They're learning focused and learning oriented. This hackathon was organized with the FAIR team, the AI research team from Facebook based in Paris, for example. And we organize code projects. Code projects are really the core. This is where 70% of the learning of our students happens. In these projects, students and partners come together at the beginning of semester, and they come up with a challenge, they come up with a process and a goal, and in 10 to 14 weeks, they collaborate together and solve that issue, solve that problem. And that can range from anything. It can be a completely new technology that they apply. It can be a little business problem that they're trying to user test, to user research, and see how they can improve the actual processes of our companies. And doing code projects for 2 years now almost, we learned something. We saw that there is a window of opportunity here to facilitate projects that have a social impact, a positive social impact for the organizations, but also for a wider society. We noticed that there's corporate and non-corporate companies and actors who are interested in exactly this way of trying out digitalization, collaborating with young talents, and see what kind of solutions are possible in a playful way. And we also noticed that our students, who of course we select on a basis of how much they want to engage with society and what kind of impact they want to have, we noticed that they want, in their time at university, to have a positive impact through the projects, through the efforts that they are putting into their studies. And so we decided to take action here and to seize the opportunity and to join the Global Kick program, sponsored by AWS, by launching the Better Future Lab. And so the Better Future Lab is a catchy title. It's a bit provocative, one might say, because it really prompts you to ask yourself, what do we mean by a better future? What is a better future for you? Who are we talking about, and better than what? And future, whose future are we talking about, and when? And that's really the way that we start at Code with any type of project that we have. We ask ourselves those important questions, because we believe good digital product development is about asking the right questions at the very beginning. And this is where we align with AWS, because they, in their own sense, have owned that skill very well. The mission of the Better Future Lab is going to be to support the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals set forth by the UN. And when we're talking about supporting them, we're talking about supporting them in the Code way. That means applied in projects, collaborative, between students and organizations out there that are working on the same eye level. And we're talking about projects that can be coming from the public sector, they can be coming from the corporate sector, projects that are, in the end, really at that liminal space between corporates and non-corporates. And this is why? Because we believe that at that liminal space between the two, this is where innovation and technology and new approaches, and especially students as a completely new stakeholder group, can bring in a lot of leverage to the problems and the ideas, to their hopes for a better future. And of course, working with technology, working with education and innovation, we are faced with, especially as a private institution that does not receive any governmental funding, we're faced with the problem of resources. And technology comes in here. Technology is important not so much to help solve the right challenges, but to be a resource that students and our partners can rely on whenever they need to. So cloud technologies will be an option, and it's great to partner here with AWS because it allows us to spend our resources and our time and efforts on something that we can do well, and at the same time build on something that one of the largest companies has created over an extensive time, capabilities and technologies. So the Better Future Lab is due to launch on the 7th of June, and the project tracks are going to be part of our ongoing semesters from September on. We're very happy to invite you all to our launch to Berlin on the 7th of June.